G'day, ZiggyD here, back with some more Path of Exile news for the Awakening Expansion. Divination cards, which were teased earlier in the week, have now been announced. We now know what they'll do, how you get them, and how they'll also be made. Divination cards represent a new style of farming in Path of Exile, a new way of deterministically getting certain items in the game. Now, these cards will be entirely created by supporters so far. I talked to Chris Wilson recently, and although there's some examples of pictures here, these are just like kind of examples of what sort of things could be made. The actual cards that will go into the game will be made entirely by supporters through the new supporter packs that have been announced for the Awakening Expansion Pack. Now, the way these cards will work is that each card will drop in a specific zone. The specific zone will depend on the card and the set that it comes from. Once you collect an entire set of cards, so this could be anywhere from 3 cards or 2 cards, or it could even be 1 card, or it could be way more, something like 12 cards or more. Once you collect the full set of cards, you're able to take all of those cards to a vendor in Act 4, and you'll be able to exchange them for the item listed on the card. Now, as you can see in the example pictures above me right here, you can see, for example, there's one set of cards there, one of 4, the Mourner gives a Regal Orb if you collect that full set of cards. There's one just underneath there that is for the Harvest, which is a unique item if you collect all 12 items for that. And that's also an interesting example because that's an item that currently is only available through Zana map mods. It's an item from a previous Challenge League. And then on the third card back there, there's level 76 per, could be some sort of rare, it looks like some sort of rare base item of a specific item level. Now, the specific items that we'll be able to farm for using the divination card method in the game will depend entirely on the supporters and what sets of cards they decide to create. So we may or may not see something like a Chavaron's Wrappings set of card. It depends on whether a supporter decides they want to make that. Now, when it comes to high-end rare uniques like Chavaron's Wrappings or Kaim's Heart or Voltaxics and stuff like that, we may well see some supporters create card sets for that. And this offers an interesting sort of extra way of getting things that is, you can specifically farm for these things. In the past, if you wanted one of these sorts of specific uniques, you would have to either hope to get very lucky, or you would have to farm and save currency and trade your way up to that sort of item. So this sort of system introduces a really nice deterministic way of focusing your way towards something, building your way up towards something, and of course it also may introduce a bit of a meta of trading cards as well to help each other build sets. But I don't think that's the really interesting thing that could come of this. I think it will be nice to see some sets in there that allow you to deterministically farm your way towards certain high-end uniques, but I think the really interesting sets of cards will be the ones that offer different things that are not currently available, or ones that offer interesting things like crafting bases. Now, the high-end supporter pack, the Highgate supporter pack that allows you to divine these divination cards, is pretty expensive. It's pretty pricey, so I can imagine that you might be worried, and I was a bit worried this myself, that there wouldn't be many sets of divination cards because GGG is not going to actually be adding into the game themselves. So that would have been a shame, right, to only have like a couple sets of these cards. Well, I wouldn't be too worried about that. Chris Wilson recently said on Reddit, in a Reddit thread, that there has been many sales of the Highgate supporter pack already, and that there's going to be loads of different card sets to find, so I'm really looking forward to that. I really like the addition of these divination cards from a number of different perspectives. I do like that it'll give people who are playing self-found, or people who like to really farm items for themselves, a way of doing that, a way of really giving themselves a goal towards going for something without trading instead, or giving them an alternative sort of route towards those items. I like that perspective, but I also really like that this sort of content, when added to action RPGs, allows you to see and gives you incentives to see different forms of content that you might not have otherwise been farming. So, for example, by the time you get to endgame, you're pretty much going to be restricted to endgame maps, and then Act 4 if you want to be getting efficient XP and efficient progress towards any sort of gear that you actually want. With the addition of divination cards, although it might not be worth it in terms of XP and the actual other loot drops, if you do really want to work your way up to that Chavaron's Wrappings or to that Voltaxic Rift, there might be a reason to do something like visit Act 1 and kill a certain boss in Act 1. Now, not everyone likes the idea of loot tables, and this will be something you don't have to do. Like, this doesn't interfere with the non-loot table setup of Path of Exile, which a lot of people really like, and I like myself. But on the other hand, I do kind of like an extra other alternative system of loot tables, and that's what this does represent. It does allow all of that content that is pretty awesome when you're leveling through, but don't really get to see so much once you're at endgame, a chance to be seen once again. And I really quite like that. However, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this idea of divination cards and what they'll do for the game. Is it something you want to see? Is it something you're excited for? I'm also really curious if you guys were going to get the divination card pack, or if indeed you have picked up the divination card pack to design your own. What would you design? What sort of item would you want the cards to go towards? What sort of thing would you be able to deterministically farm for? And what would be the theme of your set as well? How would you go about designing that? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to read your answers. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.